Design an RC car, they said. It'll be easy, they said.
Designing RC drift chassis isn't always the easiest thing in the world. Although it might appear that it's a super easy, super simple task to get everything laid out, there's actually quite a lot of steps involved, especially in order to be accurate and have a great driving chassis.
The slide niggas ride with the tires, grip tight, building parts under neon light, slide through the corners like a ghost on fire.
Hey guys, I'm Cam and welcome back to Shredcraft RC. Today is part 6 of the FRX RS front motor project, and what I'm doing today is showing you guys some of my design process steps involved in making an accurate, good driving RC drift chassis. Now, I feel like there's a lot of aftermarket chassis options out there for whatever RC drift car you might drive. I like to focus in on a niche that interests me because I'm not necessarily doing this for profit, but I want to bring you guys an awesome product that not only drives great but looks great. Kind of becomes what I used to call a piece of RC jewelry. So what I've been doing is I've been working on the FRX RS chassis here, and this is our front motor rear-wheel drive RC drift car that we've been working on for the past few episodes and talking about designs and where we can improve this chassis to get it driving better. Not that it doesn't drive good already. It's actually a really good driving car out of the box, and I was pleasantly surprised with how well it did its first time out on track. But I think with making a few improvements and maybe removing some weight down low, making some stiffer parts and pieces for this chassis, we can probably get it feeling a little more accurate and start dialing in this car. So it's really difficult to show you guys the actual amount of work that goes into making sure these chassis are perfect before letting this file go out to you guys, or even before I get some prototypes cut. So this is already hours and hours, if not a full day or two of work going into plotting out all these holes, making sure everything is perfectly accurate, and then testing and making sure just the base chassis file is dialed in. And on top of that, testing out the other parts that are going to go along with it. So these are all super basic shapes right now, just to test and check hole spacing on all my files before I have the parts cut and sent out for prototyping. And then the next decision will be what materials are going to be best for making these chassis. Obviously, carbon fiber is a top choice, although with manufacturing carbon fiber it gets very expensive, and at low quantities, like I'm assuming most of this is going to turn out to be, it can get costly. So initially I'm thinking aluminum, possibly 7000 series aluminum, 7075 to be precise. Has the highest tensile strength and has better reverberation properties and can absorb impact a little better. And these RC drift cars typically aren't getting bashed like a basher or a race car. So the other idea I had when designing these is to have obviously material removed from the front of the chassis to reduce weight in the front and keep the weight in the rear. I'll pop over to the iPad to show you guys some of the designs that I have so far to start removing weight from the front of the chassis here, getting closer and closer to the prototyping side of things with these parts. Let's start with the main chassis plate here. So what I've done is I kind of did my traditional diamond shape cutout design, and if you'll notice, most of those cutouts are in the front of the chassis and not the rear. Now my thought process here is to remove as much weight while keeping this chassis rigid up front, because we have our front motor mount area here, and then nothing really gets mounted on the front of the chassis, but you do need the room at the rear of the chassis to mount your receiver and your gyro. So I left these filled in. This also will keep the weight in the rear of the chassis. One of the materials I'm thinking of starting with, mainly because of manufacturing costs, is having this cut out of 7075 series aluminum. 7075 has really good properties. It's stiff, it's very strong, but it's still machinable. These chassis could also be anodized in a few different colors for customizing options, things like that. And then I will also be able to countersink the holes that need to be countersunk myself at home rather than having a shop do them, which adds a large amount of cost onto the manufacturing process. And then next we can take a look at the battery tray here, and the battery tray had a lot going on. There's a lot of hole spacing because the servo mounts here, you have your bottom brace mounts along with the battery holding mounts and the rear transmission mounts. So it's very important to have this piece be nice and accurate. In my prototype down here, had a few iterations. So this is the revised version. Again, with the diamond shaped cutouts, kind of a cool design in my mind. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of that diamond cutout down in the comments below. The side brace, or this is the front bulkhead brace, and this is something that I really just made sure that the hole spacing is accurate. I'm not sure on what I'm going to do for the design yet. I had an idea of doing something up here because it's not involved in the chassis spacing, so maybe you could do some sort of cool cutout or design on that, but that is a work in progress. I have most of my time into that battery tray in the main chassis deck right now. And then something that I'm playing around with is the side brace, because I saw some cool opportunities for a potential roll cage setup. So what we have here, these are actually two separate pieces. Right now they're combined, so I could get quotes on the prototypes. This lower section could be cut just alone if people weren't wanting the top roll cage, or I could make these two separate pieces completely and have it be a bolt-on option where you could actually put two M3 screws in there and bolt it onto the side brace if you wanted to have that. I also was thinking of having this cut just out of a single piece and then having a roof brace that would key in up here on the top, and that would be able to have like a crossbar section for the roof, like the top section of a roll cage. That's one of those ideas I've been working on, thinking about how I can kind of make this a unique, cool scale aspect, and then maybe having another plate that could bolt across at the bottom section. So then you would have a plate where you could mount seats, and possibly one up front where you could mount a dash or something like that. So my brain's turning. I got some ideas. I'll probably do a live stream and share some of these ideas I've been working on so we can talk about it as a group. And I want to hear what you guys think or what you want to see with a RC drift car. Alright, so now that I have some revised files, I'm going to show you how I cut these onto vinyl to basically make my templates and double check. It might be hard to see on camera, but I'm a little off on the battery tray, and then I was a little off on this front bulkhead, and what I'm going to do is test my revised files. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I edited the points in these files, and then I will check my dimensions here, and I will make sure I write those down, which I have here on this paper. So then what I do is when I export these into an SVG file, and SVG stands for Scale Vector Graphics. So those are able to be scaled to infinity and have the dimensions that you need. So once I do that, I save those, then I email these over to my cutting computer, and we'll jump over there and I'll show you how I get those into the cutting software and then cut my templates, and then we'll recheck these holes and see if the revised file works with the dimensions here, and then we can start talking about getting prototypes made. Alright, so down here in my little cut area, so this is an old school GCC plotter. This is something I've used in the automotive industry for 10-15 years now. This is my old 2014 MacBook Pro, maybe just a MacBook. Alright, so what I've done here is I brought my graphics in, and then I scaled them to match the dimension that I had written down for each piece, and then I've just got some scrap vinyl loaded in to my plotter here. And what I'm going to do is go over here to cutter, and I'm just going to hit cut, and it's going to start cutting the vinyl, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get these peeled, and we'll test them out. So now I have my files cut here, and what I'm going to do is just weed them out really quick, and they will reveal our scaled to dimension cut files here. So I can pop out all the inserts really quick. I'm sure I'll speed this up, and then we will test fit them on our template here and see if the new hole alignments align with the holes that we need. So here we have everything weeded, and the next step will be sticking them on to our template and checking hole position compared to our previous cut. And I may have been off slightly, but that actually looks like the spacing's a lot better there. So I'm happy with that, and then I'll just go ahead and check the side brace as well. Not that the side brace was very far off to begin with. This one has the trellis kind of cut out of it. And then everything seems to line up perfectly there, so I'm happy and confident with that file now, and then I can know that my side brace is good to go, my battery mount is good to go, my chassis is good to go, and I just need to double check this top brace. So maybe I will rip that off the car real quick and I'll get back with you when we throw on the test piece. I got the top brace off the car here, and I am going to lay the cut on and check the accuracy here. Now if you can see, all of those holes line up just about perfectly. There's a few areas where I'm off, but now I know I can start adding onto this file and maybe designing it to make it look a little less mundane, but I'm happy with the alignment of those holes, and I know that that file is now good to go and accurate. So the next step in order to get prototypes going here is I will take my file and I'm going to export these as EPS files. That is what SendCutSend uses for a file type. So I am going to name this battery. I'm going to call this one V3, the third rendition, and I'm just going to save this to my file of the FRX chassis. So now I know I have the V3 battery tray. This piece I still want to work on. I want to maybe try to design that a little more. And then what I have here is I actually have multiples of this piece. So I know I can have a just lower, and then I can have just the entire top. But what I'm going to do here is just export the lower, and I will call this one side brace V3, and then I will save that in the file. So now I have all those parts, and then the next step will be to load up SendCutSend. So we're here in SendCutSend. This is my profile here, and as you can see I already have a few of these pieces in because I was just testing quotes for materials. I do have my final chassis plate along with my first prototype, and then you can see it saves all my previous files. Like when I made SCX24 chassis, it has all those. It has the Rookie Drift 2.0 that I never had made, a couple versions of that. It's got my VRD chassis, it's got my full LP86 files, it's got some front bumper files. I think I even have back to my RDX parts, LP86 battery tray. So a bunch of these parts I do have my RDX front brace, RDX battery trays, Rookie Drift top deck. This is my RDX version 2, full aluminum. I have it when I did it anodized in gold. So SendCutSend is a great resource to have prototypes made, especially here in the US. It's just an awesome service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my files here. I'm going to find my battery tray V3. I'm going to open that, and it's going to import it, have you confirm your dimensions, and you can see we have this in a 3D model here. I'm going to confirm that it was made in inches, and then all the materials available to make this part out of. So I'm choosing aluminum. This piece I can do 6000 series because it's not a structural part, and I'm thinking I'll probably do these out of 3.2 mil, and then it will give you instant quotes on how much these cost at quantities. And then you can add services like powder coating, anodizing, countersinking, but it makes the price go up exponentially if you are to add some of those. So now that I got V3, I'm gonna load up I need my front, well, let's see, what did I just do? Side brace, V3. And then there's the side brace loaded up, and I can go through all the same steps, picking materials. And then I will get everything loaded in here. I'll delete the ones I'm not going to use because they were test pieces. And then I can go ahead and start ordering prototypes and test these parts out. So as you can see, in order to get this far in the process, there's quite a lot of steps involved. There's been a lot of measuring, a lot of back and forth, and a lot of minute changes to get this chassis dialed in. But I'm at a confident place where I am confident with my hole spacing, I'm confident where the cutouts are, and I'm happy with how this chassis is starting to come together. But I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to let me know what you want to see. I know everyone's going to have varying opinions and differences in what they want, and I can't accomplish all of those with one chassis. I just wanted to share with you guys some of my ideas, where we're at. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up button if you guys like seeing the behind the scenes of the design process. I have many hours into this already, and I'm sure there'll be many more to come. But it helps having some input and some ideas. It also helps my brain get turning, so I'm not just trying to assume what everyone out there wants for their RC drift car. I do have a good understanding of what it takes to manufacture these and have these produced, and I think that's a little more involved than what is initially in people's minds when they think, oh, make this, make this, make this. I'm trying to show you guys that there's quite a lot of steps involved, but once I get these base files absolutely dialed in, then I can start cutting prototypes, and those will be in a future episode where, like I said, this initial batch will be cut out of aluminum. And then in the future, after I get a 3D file built, I think maybe we could try carbon fiber if there's enough demand out there. But just to give you a heads up, carbon fiber is going to be very expensive, especially in low quantities to have these produced. We're talking $120 or $130 just for the base chassis plate. So there is some cost involved on my end to get these going. And what I'll do is, if there's enough demand of people that might want these aluminum chassis, I can set up a pre-order, have you guys, I'll do a write-up and let you know what's involved with the pre-order. But I think if we can get the cost for all the parts together, the battery tray, the front bulkhead, the chassis plate, and the side braces, right around $100, I think that's a pretty good value for money for what you get. Especially with me having to go in and hand finish and hand countersink all the screws. You know, there may be areas where we won't need to necessarily do countersinks, but once I know that my prototypes are accurate, then I'm confident to release these out into the wild and let you guys start testing them as well. So let me know, and in the next episode, I think we'll probably have prototypes coming. Be sure to tune in. I'll probably do a live stream so we can do a live chat, kind of hang out, talk about ideas and things like that before I send out for prototypes. Like I said, I'm really impressed with the stock FRX, and I'm excited to see how much better we can make it as a group. And then at the end of this series, what I was thinking, for those of you that also have an FRX RS, maybe we could set up like a group challenge. We're able to kind of show our cars off, and then I can share your guys' builds here on the channel in future episodes, things like that. So I want to get you guys a little more involved. We'll do the live stream, hangout, chat, talk about design ideas, things like that, and we'll get this thing cooking. Just want to say thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate all the viewers on this series. It's been cool. It's kind of started on a whim, but we're starting to build up some steam and get going with it, and I'm excited to see these prototypes come in and bling this chassis out a little bit. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button if you like what you saw. Be sure to subscribe for more awesome RC content from Shredcraft RC, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.
The slide niggas ride with the tires, grip tight. Building parts under neon light. Slide through the corners like a ghost on fire. Having dreams fueled by raw desire. RC drifting, grabbing doors with flair. Smoke in the air like we just don't care. Slide through the corners like enough to flow. Drift kings rising, always falling.